Hey guys, welcome to the DEADeyeKTD YouTube channel. I know I've been working on this for a while and I've talked about the podcasts and everything else that I wanted to do, and there's been a lot of stuff going on in my life, which is all great, don't get me wrong. I've just been very busy. And I was also working on a laptop, which is very inconvenient, at least for me, for video editing, as well as PC. For me, a Mac is much more optimal. It feels a lot easier to work with. And I've actually just been getting used to this brand new Mac for the last 2 weeks or so and just kind of toying around and seeing what I could do with some footage. Today, I decided to set up my Logitech webcam, my Yeti mic, and I actually came across some awesome studio lighting. I was working with just like a lamp, which wasn't really giving me the type of lighting that I wanted. It's very orangey. Definitely not what I want to put out there. So this channel is going to chronicle a lot of my life, from my weight loss journey to just how my life has changed so drastically over the last 5 years, financially, spiritually, obviously physically. So I guess for those who don't know, or for those who may have checked out videos quite some time ago, because it's been a while, Aaron Lewis, but I started at 340 pounds about 5 years ago, and since then I've lost over 100 pounds. Now it's 110.5 or 111 pounds basically at this point. So my original goal was to lose 110 pounds to hit 230 from 340, and it took me over 5 years to get there. There was a lot of stopping, a lot of plateauing. Not me stopping the workouts or moving away from the lifestyle, but more so the fact that I would hit these plateaus and I wouldn't know the next move to make, and it was kind of like I had to almost emotionally push forward from whatever issue I was dealing with in order to lose weight. It was kind of crazy. Like once I lost the first 60, 70, 80, 90 pounds, it was getting tougher and tougher to find a way to lose that weight. But I realized along the journey that there was a lot of emotional baggage that went along with the weight, and it feels like the more of that emotional gravity that I can get rid of in my life, the more the weight tends to decide to leave as well. It's almost like it's a physical representation of all of those emotional problems. So I guess what I wanted to talk about with that is true change. What is true change, right? So if you go back about 5 or 6 years ago and peruse my Facebook or any of my social media, I mean, I was kind of a hateful, sarcastic jerk, stupid head guy, and you know, I said a lot of things that I recently got the Time Hop app, which is great because it can show you can go back to all those times. Like the things that I was saying, I was literally disgusted. Like from my perspective now to the person I was then, I was actually disgusted with the things I was saying. So it really hits me hard to see how much, because sometimes we don't notice how much we change because change is very gradual. But I actually just did a podcast the other day with a friend of mine, and actually 2 friends of mine, and what was really funny is it got really brutally honest in the best way possible, because they had brought up the fact that there was a point where I was very miserable to be around. I wasn't anywhere near the person I am today, and it was on social media or everywhere else. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. They didn't really like having me around. So this came up on this podcast because they want to tell me just how much they had seen the change that had occurred in me. And I think what was so great about that is, you know, for a second there, they were like, well, I hope you're not offended by this. Actually, I love hearing things like that, because for me to say that I've changed is one thing, right? But for somebody else to actually take the time to say, look, you are not the same person you were before, that's huge. That's awesome. And I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. And I'm glad as the weight drops and as I learn more things about discipline and what I meant to do, like my mind is kind of blown. So when we talk about discipline, part of that has been a big part of this DDP yoga journey is, making the time for the workouts, learning to eat correctly. I really had to learn how to eat all over again. I mean, it sounds silly, right? Like at 28 years old, I had no idea how to eat correctly. And that led to me having a career in natural foods. And now it seems like if I would have thought all the changes, just the dietary changes that would have occurred over the last 5 years of my life, I would have never believed if you would have told me, well, you're gonna go gluten-free and dairy-free, and you're gonna move away from all the fast food you used to eat. You're gonna stop eating all these chemicals, all these things, basically anything in the main section of the grocery store at this point. And oh yeah, eventually you're gonna decide to stop eating meat altogether and just go completely plant-based. I never would have thought that. And then along came something else to, speaking of discipline, I started reading up on the benefits of fasting. Intermittent fasting was a big help, especially when I've been stuck for so long. I started doing like the 12 to 8 window where you'd eat that 8 hours and then the rest of the day you wouldn't eat. And I lost about another 20 or so pounds doing that. And then I was looking to kind of kick it up to the next level. I did the 6-hour window, I kind of did the 4-hour window, and for whatever reason I thought they were too extreme at the time. But now what I do is OMAD, or 1 meal a day, where I go through my day, I wake up, I have maybe black coffee with some stevia drops, and I have plenty of water, and I don't eat my meal until around 3 to 5 o'clock at night, sometimes even later. Today I don't think I ate till around 6:30 or so. And just letting my body fully digest all of that food from the previous day, because eating late, I realized, really gave me a lot of problems. Like I would sleep for, let's say, 6 to 8 hours, and I would wake up and I'd feel drained. You shouldn't feel drained after you sleep. Sleep is almost like recharging your battery. You should be good to go. So I realized by cutting off after a certain point, like let's say 6 o'clock, 6:30, and not eating after that point, it gave my digestion a lot of time to catch up with itself, and since then I feel like completely recharged when I wake up. I feel I'm ready to just take on the world. And it's just been this steady evolution of my eating habits over the last several years. Been a big part of the weight loss, obviously. And it brings a quote that Dallas likes to use to mind all the time. It's actually from Albert Einstein, and the quote is, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's that I stay with the problems longer." So I've been dealing with this weight issue, this change, this transformation, this journey for 5+ years now. And when I would come across these new problems, these new barriers, these new barricades, I would have to rethink the way I did things in order to move forward to the next level, or whatever you want to consider it. And by sticking with that problem and not giving up, and knowing that eventually I would find a way to break those barriers, that's how I've gone from 340 to now 229.5. Just gonna say it, I like saying that. And not backslid. It's just been consistent progress, just boom, chipping away, bit by bit by bit by bit. And really focusing on that goal and not giving up on the problem. And not to say I never fall, because we all fall. It's about how we get back up again. But to stick with the problem and to reevaluate it and maybe look at it from a different direction, that's how we come up with new answers. We come up with new answers because we do fail. We are human. And when we fail, the only way we truly fail is if we don't learn anything from that circumstance. So that is something that I've been living with for a long time now, is realizing that failure is an opportunity for me to learn. And if I can learn and apply by sticking with that same problem and trying different solutions to fix it, eventually I will find the solution to break through to that next level. So it's been a whole cavalcade of starting with going gluten-free and dairy-free in the very beginning, and then eventually moving toward a plant-based lifestyle, and then incorporating fasting. And none of this, because it's built on foundation, right? Like, when my life collapsed around me, DDP yoga was what I used to help build new foundation in my life. Because before this, my foundation was like this, right? And it fell through. It fell through, and everything in my life collapsed down around it. And it was only in that moment that I realized I need to rebuild foundation. I need something to start with. And DDP yoga was it. And especially when I first started and Dallas reached out to me when I was on Roundtable Wrestling Radio. I mean, the guy you grew up watching on TV, one of your favorite wrestlers of all time, gives a crap about you when you don't give a crap about yourself. That will stick with me forever. And that will keep me focused on sticking with my problems, because somebody else cared enough to reach out when I didn't care about me. That's huge. So part of what we'll be doing is conversations like this, where you can leave comments below. Another thing that we'll be doing is I'll be taking this thing on the go a lot more often. Just, you know, a little FYI. Little Canon HD. Flip it around. Oh, look at that, look at that. Oh, how cool is that, huh? So, we'll be taking videos. Also be taking videos on this guy right here, linking everything up. And I'm super excited about what can happen on this channel in the future now that everything seems to be lining up. It seems to be a lot easier, a lot more fluid than the laptop I was dealing with at one point. So I'm going to try to do a video at least every week or so, if nothing more than just a sit down and kind of let you know what's on my mind, and maybe something that impacted my week that maybe I could share with somebody and help make their week a little better. So I look forward to your thoughts on what we can do with this channel. And till next week, stay DEADeyeKTD, baby.